Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and to my mid-year goals check-in. We're halfway through 2024. I'm fine. So I like to do this every year. I set some goals for myself at the beginning of the year and then I check in with how it's all going halfway through, because I love goal setting, but I'm also a big believer in not having to stick to goals if they are no longer your priority, and being flexible and being kind to yourself when circumstances change. And so that's why check-ins are important. At the beginning of this year, I did my goal setting a bit differently than I normally do. I did Ali Abdul's goal setting start of the year workshop right at the beginning of the year. And you can watch my whole 2024 goals video where I talk about more of the process of how I figured out what my goals were. But previously I would have like 10 or so goals for the year, but now it's only like 3 to 5 goals in specific categories, and I had to come up with as many reasons why that was a goal of mine, and then the plan. So in this video, I'm not going to be going through the whys again, because you can watch the other video for that. But I'm going to be checking in with the goal as a whole and the plan. Have I stuck to the plan? So let's dive into this. I have 2 work goals, a personal goal, and a relationships-based goal. So let's start with the work ones. So my first goal in this category was to establish my new career as a project manager / mentor for creators. And let's go through this plan. So reach out to initial group of people who had reached out to me at the end of the previous year for consultations. Done. I did that. I have had and continue to have a lot of conversations with creators, figuring out like what their needs are, what problems they're having, where they're struggling, and all of that kind of stuff. And then from that, figuring out how I can and want to help. And so the first part of my year was just a lot of those kind of like initial exploratory calls. Second part of the plan was to find friends / colleagues to be guinea pigs. And yes, I have done this. The first bunch of people that I was working with who I knew, I gave like mates rates to, and have asked for feedback and testimonials and all of that kind of stuff. And it was very much just like, this is my first time doing this. Like, this is going to be a very like unique and bespoke thing, but everyone has been really nice. Do Google project management course. No. If you watched my work vlog where I was like getting stuck into all of this stuff at the beginning of the year, you'll know that I decided that it was not worth my time currently, because the things that creators were coming to me for, the things that I was getting out of all of those like exploratory calls, wasn't that this was something that people needed. And so it wasn't worth my time to like do all of that work and do all of that research when it wasn't something that I would be actually doing for people. And actually what it turns out is that I've been doing a lot less like project management kind of stuff, which was like initially kind of like what I thought I would be doing, and more kind of like consulting and coaching. And that's just kind of like naturally come out of and just like evolved in terms of what people need and what I feel like I can offer them, which is kind of cool. Network, reach out to 2 people per week. So no, like I have been talking to people and I have been networking with people, but not in this kind of structured way of like reach out to 2 people per week. And also I haven't actually needed to do much outreach and marketing, and I kind of like it that way in terms of the amount of time in my like work week that this work is taking up. I don't actually like need to do that much outreach, which is a great position to be in. Update LinkedIn page. Done. But I'm not regularly posting, which wasn't a goal at the beginning of the year, but it is like this nagging thought that I've had like since then of like, I should probably use LinkedIn more. But I actually updated it. Like, so the page is up to date, which feels good. So I can like happily like send people there and I know that it's relevant to what I'm doing now. Create Notion templates. This is one of those goals that has like been on my list for years, but it finally actually feels relevant to the work that I'm doing. And I do currently have a social media content calendar in the works. This is one that I've just been using myself and developing like as I have been doing more short form content. But I created it at the beginning of the year, and then obviously like as you use it, you notice the things that aren't working or things that you need to add and like what needs editing. So my plan is to do that and then maybe put it out there. I mean, it can just be experiment. Like I don't have to like suddenly be a person who like sells Notion templates and that be like my main thing. Like I just need to think of it as like, this is just an experiment. And then update website. This is half done, also in progress. So it's updated to the extent where I feel comfortable like sharing it again. It's relevant and up to date in terms of what I'm doing, but there's still some other features and things that I want to add just to kind of spruce it up a bit, you know? I want to add some bits and bobs, but for now, you can head to hannahwitton.com and see what I'm up to, which nicely leads me on to the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. I use Squarespace for all of my websites, and it does make those times, you know, when you completely change your career, it makes it nice and easy for you to update your website. So whether you are just starting out in the freelance world or you're a small business owner or a creator, Squarespace makes it super easy to create beautiful websites, engage with your audience, and sell anything from physical to digital products and even your time, all in one place and all on your terms. They have this thing called Squarespace Blueprint. So if you are starting from scratch, it's like an interactive experience in website design, and it takes you through all of the steps and the whole process, like holds your hand and guides you through it. They have so many beautiful and functional website templates. So if you are a complete novice at website design, no fear, because it is all made so easy for you. You just drag and drop stuff around, add your own content, add your own branding, and it is just made so easy. Squarespace Blueprint also has optimized SEO tools to help you show up more in people's searches and get discovered. If your business sells physical or digital products or services, you can have an online store on Squarespace. The front and the back end is all integrated, making it super easy, and they also have flexible payment options, creating a seamless experience for your customers. So you can head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you are ready to launch your website into the world, you can go to squarespace.com/morehannah to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring, and watch this space as I continue to update and add things to my website. So my second work goal was to be more active on social media. And by this, I meant Instagram and TikTok. I kind of had a question mark around Threads at the beginning of the year, but I have not touched that. I've not touched it, and that's fine. So this was my plan, because be more active on social media is very vague. Like what does that mean? So I wanted to book in weekly time for inspiration scroll and creative time. And I've given this a tick, because even though it's not like a weekly occurring block of time that's just like automated, I have been blocking out time for social media content creation, like planning reels, filming reels, and editing reels. All of that has taken up a lot of my time this year, which, because it wasn't really something I was doing before, is like a new thing. Guys, it's really time consuming. I mean, I knew that, but I'd never like really done it myself. And so I was like, wow, okay. But I haven't set any like inspiration scroll time down, but that's kind of for the best, because I'm on and off social media for work. I do occasionally like see things. And so as long as I'm setting time aside for like my own like ideas, like development and stuff, then that's kind of fine, I think. My next video, the one coming out after this, is going to be my experience having hired a TikTok expert to help me with my content. So for the first couple of months of the year, I was doing it all by myself and I ran out of steam. And then I thought, do you know what would be fun? Hire a professional. And so I was still doing it all myself, but I was getting their like advice and input and data analysis and like knowledge of the platform and all of that kind of stuff, like TikTok specifically as well. So that video is going to be coming next week. But I definitely had a lot of revelations during that process of working with them in terms of figuring out my own priorities and what I want out of social media and what I want to put into social media. But generally, I feel like this has gone well. Like I've been posting a lot of short form content. I've been more active. I think I would like to still be more active on Instagram stories, but I kind of come and go from Instagram stories because I just don't have a lot to share. But when I have shared stuff on there, I have had a good time. Like, I'm having a nice time on social media. What? Another part of the plan was to hire a photographer for 1 day per month to help create photos and reels. I haven't done this. I haven't had time to sort it, but also I haven't really felt the need for it. I think I would like to do some more professional photo shoots just because they're super fun, but I don't have like an idea in my head of like creative direction or like purpose. Like, what is the point other than maybe like showing some fun outfits? But there's that. And then the other part of my plan was to create a content calendar for Instagram and TikTok. And yes, this is part of the Notion template thing. I have done this. It has been created. It just needs some big edits. I was about to say, it just needs a little tweaks. No, it needs some big edits before I can release it to the public. But it's there, it exists, and I do actively use it. And it has been, honestly, the thing that has made me stick to this goal. And the reason why I've been able to put out so much short form content is because I created this like content calendar schedule thing, and that is how I run my whole life. Okay, we're moving on to personal goals. Goal, singular. Read more books. And then I added especially sex nonfiction and especially in bed, which is more just like I want to go to bed earlier and like read in bed before I go to sleep. So here was the plan. Audiobooks, tick. I mean, did I even need to write that down? That was a given. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. It is the main way that I consume books. Go to bed early. I've put a cross here. I don't think I've achieved this. I've like started to do it a bit more now, but basically what happened was Rowan started going to bed earlier and I was like, oh my God, I've got evenings. And instead of like taking advantage of that and then still going to bed earlier, I was like staying up later. Why, Hannah? And then I stopped breastfeeding. And so that has changed up the whole like evening routine and I get a lot more sleep now. So I have been staying up later, but not to read. But that is still something that I want to do more of. I want to go to bed early and I want to read my book in bed. Patreon book club for sex non-fiction book accountability. We're doing this. We're on to our third book. We're currently reading The Transgender Issue, An Argument for Justice by Sean Fay. This has been really fun. We have read Emily Nagoski's Come Together and Adrienne Marie Brown's Pleasure Activism. And we have like a weekly reading schedule that you don't have to stick to, but it just allows us to have like weekly check-ins where we know like roughly what part of the book we're talking about, and we do all of that in Discord. And then at the end, we have like a big group call where we can chat about our thoughts on the book. So if you want to join in the next one, come join in. We haven't booked it in yet at time of recording, but I imagine our book club call for The Transgender Issue will be around the end of July. So if you want to join in that, then come join us. Birthday month reading vlog, did that. Tick, tick, tick. I kind of want to do another. I'm currently in the process of kind of filming another reading vlog with a different theme, with a different reason behind it. I'm enjoying this one a lot less. You will see why. But I do enjoy reading vlogs and they don't like perform well on YouTube, but the people who do love them, and those are my people. I like it. And then always have next book ready to go before I finish the current one. And I've given this a tick. And it's not because I've always known the exact book that I'm going to read as soon as I finish the other one, but I have like a whole bunch of books, obviously the TBR pile, that I'm constantly kind of checking in on. And so then when it comes to the end of a book, I have a good idea of like what I want to read next. It might be like a choice between a few. And I have read a lot of books this year. Like I think I've read more books this year, or I'm on track to read more books this year than I have the previous 2 years. However, the previous 2 years, I read a lot of Brandon Sanderson and they're like 50-hour long high fantasy novels, but I'm not enjoying the books as much. So I'm reading more, but my average star rating is lower. And maybe that's what happens when you like read more quantity rather than quality. Like I know that like fingers crossed when the next Stormlight Archive book comes out at the end of this year, like that is going to be like a 5-star for me, hopefully. Not all of the Stormlight Archives have been 5 stars for me. They've been like between 4 and 5, but some of the books that I've read this year have not been my faves. So it's always risky. The more books you read, the more you're not gonna like. So I think I really want to try and tune in better to things that I'm more confident that I will like in the second half of this year in terms of books, because I do feel like I haven't had as many books that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, as I have in previous years. Okay, and then in relationships, I wanted to host dinners for friends. That was my goal. And my plan was to regularly check in with friends more generally. I feel like I've been good at this. I gave it myself a tick. Like, I think I am good at this, but it's not led to as many IRL hangs as I would like. And if you have been following me on social media and you've been seeing some of the like reels or TikToks that I've been making, you'll know that like friendship is a big theme at the moment in my life. I often just like randomly FaceTime people when I'm with Rowan because it's something nice for us to do together, and it's also a nice way for me to like keep in touch with people, but generally people don't pick up. The only people who will like pick up from like a random call that is, you know, wasn't planned when I'm with Rowan is my family and Melanie. Everyone else is too busy to answer, or just like, why the fuck is anyone calling me? Which is just fine, but just like, come on friends, this is how I communicate. Maybe I'll just send videos instead. Maybe I'll do that. It'll be like a voice note, but in a video form. And then I had invite friends round for dinner around every 2 to 3 weeks. So I think I've maybe hosted 2 or 3 friends round for dinner since the beginning of this year. So that's definitely not every 2 to 3 weeks. It's just hard. Like, life just gets in the way, like working with my schedule, working with Dan's schedule, and then working with like friends' schedules. But I could be better at this. And then like rotate through friends was part of the plan. But like, yeah, doing this mid-year goals check-in is the nudge that I need. And we've also been getting to know our neighbours recently. We want to invite them around for dinner. So nudge noted. Will text everybody after filming this video. And then I had some honourable mentions that were like goals that weren't fully fleshed out with the whys and the plan, but just other things that I wanted to hit. So continue posting on the More Hannah channel, been doing that. More playdates with mum friends. Yes, I feel like there was a slump at the beginning of the year that might have been like winter, but now that we're getting warmer, I've been a bit more proactive in meeting up with other parent friends and having play dates and stuff, especially because like Rowan's at the age now where he like is interacting with other kids, like is making friends, is remembering kids' names. It's very cute. Get pregnant / have a baby. Well, in terms of the timings, I definitely won't be having a baby in 2024, because even if I get pregnant now, then that won't be happening until 2025. But no, I'm also still not pregnant. So this is kind of bumming me out. It's fine. Therapy, tick. I did some therapy at the beginning of this year. I did like an initial 6-week thing, like 6 sessions with a therapist, and concluded that I didn't need any more. Great, but I'm glad I did it. There was like different parts of my life that I was like, I just need to make sure I'm fine. I just need to like talk this out. And we just kind of like hit everything. And then I was like, cool, I'm good. And then finally Pilates / tennis, and that's a nope and a yes. So I have not been able to do any Pilates this year, but it still is one that I'm like, oh, I want to, but I just need to like figure out my priorities and like, is it important to me, and like, how can I fit it in? But tennis, I've been doing lots of tennis. I was doing like group coaching at the beginning of the year, and now I'm like doing the like friendly local leagues things. There's this app called Spin, like Spin Tennis, and you sign up for it, and then it matches you with people at a similar level to you, like in your league, and you like organize matches and you add in the scores, and then it ranks you. It's hitting all of the things that I love, which is like tennis and organized fun and slight competitiveness, but also not really. So we're doing okay on the honourable mentions. The main downer is the thing that is very out of my control. So I'm gonna try and not beat myself up too much about that one. But these are some new goals, some new like priorities, areas of focus for the second half of the year. So in the work category, I want to explore coaching, training and certification. That seems to be the thing that a lot of people are kind of coming to me for, and a lot of the things that I'm doing with people, but I'm not a trained or a qualified coach. And so I definitely want to like look into that avenue and see if that's something that I want to be, what the process would be, blah, 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 all of that. Finish updating the website, gonna do that. That will be done before the end of this year, hopefully sooner. Create and put up for sale one Notion template. Just one, Hannah. I just want to run it as an experiment. I've been overthinking the Notion template thing for years, and I just need to put one out there and just do it. And actually, do you know what? By the time you're seeing this, will it be done? Will it be out there? We'll see. Check the description, because maybe the social media content calendar will be done. And then continue to have fun on social media. That's a vague one, but it is a priority for me, that it is like a fun and positive experience for me being on these apps, because the moment that it stops being that, I'm like, what's the point? Personal, continuing in the books realm, I want to continue reading, obviously, but I want to be more brutal with not finishing books that I'm not enjoying. Just put it down. DNF that shit. I've DNF'd, I think, one book this year so far, but I was already so far through it because I was being stubborn. And really, I should have just DNF'd it a lot earlier. And then relationships, this isn't really a goal. This again is like an area of focus, but friendships is a big theme for me right now, but more specifically, local community. So I want more local friends, especially parent friends, but it doesn't necessarily have to be parent friends, but it is useful. But just people that live near me. Like, proximity is important. So in terms of the theme of like relationships and friendships, my priorities are the local community, and then of course still maintaining my current friendships. So those are my 2 areas of focus in friendships. And then my romantic relationship's fine. That's grand. We don't need to set any goals there. So there we have it. That's my mid-year goals check-in and some priorities and new goals for the second half of the year. In the final months of the year, I also always do a home stretch goals video. A lot of you seem to like that as well. So look out for that around, I guess, like October time is usually when that happens. When we reflect and we set some goals for the final sprint of the year, but we be kind and realistic about what we can achieve in those final months. Did you set any goals at the beginning of this year? How are you getting on with them? I hope that you're doing well. Don't forget to subscribe, because next week is going to be the TikTok expert video, which I'm very excited about sharing with you. And I'll see you soon. Bye.